Hello, my name is Galina Kurdina. I live in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I'm a victim of psychotronic mind control attacks. I consider myself an involuntary human subject in psychotronic mind control experimentation who has never ever given an informed consent to be a guinea pig in these experiments. Some time ago I sent a cease and desist letter to former NSA agent, but of course I do not think that government agents may be former agents, but a retired NSA agent, Karen Stewart. 1 or 2 days ago, I went to her Facebook account, Perps and Nutcases, to double check whether she had deleted all slander that she posted there regarding me. As you can remember, she posted their text messages between her and unknown mysterious Canadian female who claimed that I was a KGB agent, after that KGB defector, traded state and KGB secrets for money or for some benefits from British intelligence, visited Britain, and so on, so on. So, writers of horror literature may silently envy these two ladies. I demanded many times to reveal name of this unknown Canadian woman who allegedly sent these messages to Stewart. Stewart didn't tell us her name, so she takes full responsibility. Stewart takes full responsibility for this slander, disgusting smear campaign against me. So 1 or 2 days ago, I went to her Facebook account, a Facebook page, Perps and Nutcases, to check it. Of course, all slander is there. She didn't delete it, but I found a new information regarding her arrests in Florida. She posted twice about these arrests. She directed readers to Twitter account of Amy Ray Baum, who disclosed court records regarding events that happened in Florida and ended with her 2 arrests and sentence. It was something like she was sentenced on probation. So I would like to read, because this is very interesting reading. I cannot say to you that these events that happened in Florida and happened in our TI community are identical. Of course they are not, but they are very similar. They have many things in common, so I can compare them. So let's start with what was posted by Amy Ray Baum in her Twitter account. I would like to read these court documents filed with Leon County, Florida. So, first document, it was filed with court on the 20th of October 2016. Summary of offense and probable cause affidavit. On October 13th, 2016, Deputy Ryan Michaels responded to 2036 Wild Ridge Drive in reference to harassment LCSO, OCA, and number. Contact was made with Renee Stockton, the homeowner. She reported the following. Renee's neighbor, Karen Stewart, our current Melton Stewart, residing at 1825 Sageway Drive, lives directly behind her residence. Karen has been exhibiting behaviors which have caused substantial emotional distress to Renee. On October the 12th, 2016, Renee was made aware by an anonymous neighbor that Karen mailed a letter which made reference to being targeted by the United States government and by surrounded neighbors. The letter claimed Renee and other unknown neighbors were hired by the National Security Agency NSA to harm and kill Karen. Renee was also reported that several months ago, Karen called her in the early morning hours asking where her son was and why he was outside at his vehicle. Karen believed Renee's son, Christopher Dean, was going to his vehicle and operating a device which emits gamma radiation, which would slowly kill Karen. Renee's doctor recently increased the dosage of her anxiety medication due to Karen's actions, as Renee is afraid of her and her behavior escalating. I contacted Renee to speak to her about the incidents, as I am familiar with Karen. Renee advised on more than one occasion Karen has been on her property shining spotlights and lasers into windows of her residence at all hours at night. So Karen came to a house of Renee and shined spotlights and lasers into windows of Renee's residence at all hours of the night. Karen is also said to play loud music at times, which harasses neighbors and Renee. Renee told me that Karen has the entire neighborhood hostage. The neighborhood is known to be friendly, and all of the residents were free to walk around. However, due to Karen's behavior, many of the residents have stopped walking around the neighborhood as they fear Karen. On October 20, 2016, I responded to Renee's residence to determine if I could locate any evidence of Karen entering Renee's property to shine lights and lasers into her residence. While looking near the property line between Renee and Karen's property, I discovered a trail camera placed high in a tree. The tree is located on Karen's property, only a few feet from the chain link fence separating the property. The camera is positioned so it will photograph Renee's backyard, rear of her residence, and driveway where she parks her vehicles. Sorry for my mistakes, because I experienced forced speech, and perpetrators didn't let me sleep till almost 6 a.m. I pointed the camera out to Renee. She was unaware of the camera's presence and appeared very distressed at the discovery. She seemed speechless as I pointed it out, as she didn't say anything. I spoke to Renee, and she appeared to be emotionally distressed at the fact a camera was placed to watch her residence from Karen's residence. Photographs were taken of Renee's property, the trail camera, and the general area of Renee's property, the camera photographs. It should also be noted on October the 18th, 2016, Renee's son Christopher was the victim of an aggravated battery with a deadly weapon and criminal mischief which resulted in the arrest of Karen. During the incident, Christopher confronted Karen at her residence while she was playing music connected to a PA system which was blaring noise loudly. During the encounter, Christopher called Karen crazy. Karen then struck Christopher in the mouth with a flashlight. He turned around to walk away, and Karen struck him in the back of his head with the flashlight. Christopher turned and punched Karen, then retreated to his vehicle. Karen began hitting his windows with the flashlight, breaking the front and rear windshields. Of his car, obviously. Christopher returned home and contacted law enforcement. She was arrested as a result of the incident. Karen bonded out of the Leon County Jail on October 19th, 2016, and has been ordered to have no contact with Christopher or his mother, Renee. After searching the CAD, calls were located where Renee has reported additional harassment. On October the 20th, 2016, at 1:27 a.m., or maybe p.m., I don't know, 1:27 hours, Renee called to advise Karen was flashing a light on and off that shines in the direction of her home. When deputies arrived to speak to Karen, she didn't answer the door. On August 13, 2016, Renee contacted the sheriff's office about receiving a threatening letter, and deputies responded and documented in the CAD screen that Karen thought the Stocktons once again turned on their alleged directional energy weapon on and was trying to kill her. She called the house at approximately 1:40 hours and told them to stop what they were doing. Karen was told to stop calling her neighbors in the middle of the night, so it happened at 1:27 and 1:40 a.m. So Karen was told to stop calling her neighbors in the middle of the night. Renee was encouraged to continue bringing Karen's behaviors to the attention of law enforcement. A call for service was located where Karen contacted the sheriff's office requesting a deputy be en route to Renee's residence to speak to her about harassing lights and heat devices. This was reported on April 15, 2016. Calls of this nature are common for Karen to make. However, this one specifically listed Renee's residence at the target location. Multiple other calls for service were located where neighbors were calling about Karen's actions, or Karen was reporting emanations or other forms of harassment she believed was being caused by her neighbors on behalf of the NSA. There is also an incident report where neighbors located damaged vehicles and broken windows. It was suspected Karen was using a slingshot to throw rocks at neighbors' cars. Rocks consistent with Karen's landscape rocks were located at the scene of the criminal mischief incidents. Probable cause was not established for Karen's arrest in that case. This type of call is consistent with what Renee reported to me. Her son's Dodge Ram appeared to be damaged by a rock, and she suspected Karen of using a slingshot and rock to cause the damage. Having dealt with Karen in the past, I am aware of a possible mental health issue she is encountering. Uh, Karen is a former employee with the NSA. She advises she filed a lawsuit for wrongful termination due to being a whistleblower. Because, and I can specify that Karen herself signs her letters as an accident whistleblower. This is true. This is true. Because of the lawsuit, the NSA is harassing Karen. They have enlisted the assistance from her neighbors and provided them, Karen means NSA, have enlisted the assistance from her neighbors and provided them directed energy weapons which emit deadly emanations. The neighbors turn these weapons on and provide low doses of radiation towards Karen's residence, which is causing her health to deteriorate and will ultimately result in her death. Many calls reported by Karen are in reference to these weapons being used by neighbors, as well as hearing cat calls and bird calls, which is how the alleged suspects communicate with each other. So Stewart suspects that neighbors, in order to communicate each other and attack her, they use cat calls and bird calls. Okay, she has provided several handwritten documents accounting for these incidents and how people acting on behalf of the NSA area gang stalking her. There are also websites where Karen has written documentation of what she believes is happening to her. On one website, a photograph of Renee's house was taken and posted online. Okay, next. Sorry. Next. Due to the above information, I am requesting a warrant for Karen's arrest. I am asking for one count of stalking as Karen's course of conduct serves no legitimate purpose and is causing Renee substantial emotional distress by utilizing lights, lasers, and music to harass her. The trail camera located on Karen's property also serves no legitimate purpose as it is pointed directly onto Renee's property. Not on Karen's, but onto Renee's property, specifically her backyard and a driveway, where Karen can keep track of Renee and her family coming and going from the residence. Karen was not contacted at the time I discovered the trail camera on her property. And signature. Next, this is not the only document filed with the Florida court. The next document was prepared not by assistant of district attorney or police officer or some other officials. It was prepared by neighbors. And it was made not without humor, so you will see it. Dear Judge Dempsey, it was filed, dated September the 30th, 2017. Dear Judge Dempsey, as the facts of the above referenced cases are presented to you for consideration, You will become well acquainted with the purported victims, Mr. Dean and his mother, Mrs. Stockton. Additionally, you will learn about many of the actions were allegedly inflicted upon these individuals. It is the case that these individuals to date have been directly harmed the most by Miss Stewart's actions. But there has been, a much wider negative impact occasioned by Miss Stewart. So her attacks or her communication with Renee and her son wasn't the only incidents. The neighborhood in which Miss Stewart has resided with her parents, as well as the surrounding neighborhoods, are areas in which the neighbors truly care about one another and are ready to lend assistance. That sense of community and concern was extended to Miss Stewart as well as her parents. Unfortunately, Miss Stewart demonstrated time and again that she viewed her neighbors with suspicion and genuinely believed that the neighbors were feeding information about her to the NSA, her former employer, were taking actions designed to harm and or kill her, her pets and family, and simply were fooled by the government into believing that she was a dangerous person that deserved to be harmed. Her level of suspicion caused her to prowl the neighborhood all hours at night in dark clothes to reduce her visibility. Listen to me. All hours at night in dark clothes, looking for evidence of ill doing by the neighbors to confirm her beliefs. Oftentimes, she was accompanied by her two dogs, a shepherd and a husky mix, that were menacing both in appearance and demeanor. She would shine a flashlight through windows of residences in an attempt to see what evil the residents were perpetrating. Sorry for my false speech. Both during the day and at night, she would follow walkers on foot or in her vehicle to see where they were going. If a walker carried a pouch, perhaps to hold water or cell phone or a sweat rag, Miss Stewart would demand to know what was in the pouch. Miss Stewart would accost neighbors walking in their yards to ask them what they were up to. On one occasion, Miss Stewart screamed at a young child riding his bicycle, claiming he was feeding information about her to the NSA. Even a young child was a suspect. After dark, Miss Stewart often would park her vehicle at the entrance of the subdivision, waiting for any resident who happened to be coming home late due to various responsibilities of life. Miss Stewart would turn on her vehicle's high beams and would follow any such residents up to their driveways, effectively terrorizing such individuals. She would take pictures of people and houses and would post the pictures on the internet, which with labels identifying the people as NSA agents and the houses as locations from which emanations, apparently deadly electromagnetic waves, were launched at her and her family. She constantly was filling mailboxes with evidence she pulled from the internet. See samples attached to Exhibit A, to show how the government was targeting innocent people like herself and causing them great harm. She loudly played a radio outside for hours, alleging that the radio waves would cancel out the emanations that were directed at her by neighbors. Sorry that I interrupt reading, but especially for Stewart. I said to her that almost everything she says or does looks and sounds either comic or idiotic. Just for her information, out of compassion, I want to inform Stewart that loud sound waves, air vibration, cannot even theoretically stop electromagnetic effects upon targeted individuals. Most likely, we are attacked by radio waves, microwaves, or even pulsed masers. So it's even theoretical. The vibration of air, loud noises, loud music cannot stop these effects. Very powerful and very dangerous attacks by electromagnetic influence. So let's continue. If a neighbor happened to contract for a new roof or other repairs, she would accuse them of being paid by the, next page. Being paid by the government to spy on her, because in her eyes, such an individual could not possibly otherwise afford a home repair. Miss Stewart upset the entire neighborhood by mailing most residents a letter that represented it was authored by another neighbor with whom she had a dispute to malign his character. The letter used profane and disgusting language, insulting residents, many of whom have small children. I can testify that this is, the most loved by Stewart activity to insult other people with the most disgusting, low, vulgar language. I can testify that they use it constantly against targeted individuals as well. Okay, let's continue. Neighbors, they were so upset that they reported the letter either to sheriff's office and or the postal service. This behavior continued to escalate until Miss Stewart finally was prohibited from being in the neighborhood. So she was actually expelled from the neighborhood. While most of her activities fell short of the type of activities that could support a legal action for stalking or harassment, her actions created an atmosphere of concern and constant fear throughout the neighborhood. Neighbors were informed by the sheriff's office essentially that nothing could be done about her actions unless and until someone was physically harmed or killed. Thus, we resorted to protecting ourselves the best we could by sharing information and cell phone numbers, working in groups, and making attempts to avoid confrontation. However, living in such an atmosphere produces unwarranted stress, very similar to that experienced by individuals residing in a war zone. Once Miss Stewart no longer could be in the neighborhood, fear went away and a sense of normalcy returned. While Miss Stewart will certainly take advantage of the legal presumption of innocent until proven guilty, during her legal proceedings, she never extended this presumption to the neighbors. In her eyes, everyone was guilty, regardless of what evidence they would try to provide to the contrary. We have no indication that her beliefs that have been long held have been altered. See attached New York Times article, date June 10, 2016, Exhibit B. It is possible that she may have additional built-up anger regarding the neighborhood as a result of the restrictions that have been imposed on her for close to 1 year. No one wants to see any harm come to Miss Stewart, but it is clear that simply imposing fines and ordering restitution should Miss Stewart be adjudicated guilty, or if there is a settlement, will not solve Miss Stewart issues. Without sufficient required professional support, she likely will continue her unfounded beliefs and will experience continuing stress herself. This could lead to further events of violence and could result in great harm to Miss Stewart as well as others. We respectfully are requesting that you attempt to ensure that the manner in which Miss Stewart's legal proceedings are resolved serves to address Miss Stewart's behavioral issues for the benefit of Miss Stewart as well as individuals that have been and may continue to be impacted by her behavior. In addition, due to legitimate concerns about the potential for retaliation by Ms. Stewart, we respectfully request that if a copy of this communication is provided to Ms. Stewart, that the names of all signers hereto are redacted for protection purposes. Okay, so I found these documents on this Twitter account of Amy Raybaum, and now I would like to read a little bit about responses that were posted by Stewart on her Facebook page, Perps and Nutcases. I will not read all these, a lot of documents, a lot of pages, too many words, but I would like to stress that, of course, she says in these documents that neighbors, all neighbors, all officials, assistants of the district attorneys, police, justices, all Florida offices or official people, all of them lie. Everything that happened was happened different way. You can read these documents. Just I would like to read that Stewart and her two attorneys, they accepted without even arguing what was proposed by a district attorney. Let me find. After being arrested twice, after spending some time in jail in Florida, they accepted everything that was proposed, offered by a district attorney. First, Stewart was not allowed back to Leon County, Leon County, Florida, to visit her elderly parents, who were presently 87 and 89, unless the Florida judge allows it, essentially guaranteeing she will never see her parents alive again. Or this is from Stewart. So first of all, she was prohibited from coming back to Florida, Leon County. Next, could not carry a weapon. Next, cannot leave the new state in which she resides without permission. Next, cannot mention Renee Stockton in social media because Stewart's attempts to get her to control her son had resulted in Stockton being to ask her doctor to increase her medications. despite that she signed all this and agreed to all these demands from a district attorney, she still, this is my information, Stewart still posts insults towards Renee Stockton. She posed that Renee, when she was working, she dated and flirted with many. She flirted with her brother and so on. So you see. Next, cannot contact any Florida State, Leon County, or Tallahassee city official unless they contact her first. Any. And so on. You can read these documents on her Facebook page. Sorry, I would like to share my own opinion. Of course, I believe that many of targeted individuals, victims of electromagnetic attacks, they are gang-stalked, really gang-stalked. They are insulted, they are stalked, harassed, they receive threatening phone calls, letters. Their property may be vandalized. I myself survived gang stalking. So I completely agree, I can completely support these targeted individuals. I am with them, I am for them. But regarding Stewart, I want to say to you that despite the fact that Stewart was provided with all information intact, exchanges of emails with Sherry Guarnieri, which clearly indicated that it was Guarnieri who found me, attacked me, slandered me, distorted my words, distorted my request of her doctor's names and emails, and presented my requests for this information to share it with other targeted individuals, presented it as demands of her private medical records before court ruling. She invented this. Despite all this information, Stewart attacked me, insulted me badly, like manure on my shoes, like lower than shit, like obnoxious asshole, whatever. And I wasn't the only. Other people who supported me and were on my side. For example, she insulted another targeted individual and asked him whether he was made by his mother and his uncle, mother and brother, because such things, as she mentioned, may be a result of incest. She used so low, so vulgar, so outrageous insults that you cannot imagine. And in this situation, of course, I believe her neighbors. I believe innocent people who were attacked, harassed, and stalked by Stewart. But of course, you can read all this information. It is posted, and you can make your own opinion and your own decision. But I say to you that knowing how Stewart attacks innocent targeted individual for no reason, without any proofs and evidences, what smear campaign she started against me, using these text messages from unknown mysterious Canadian female that I was a KGB agent and defector and traded KGB secrets for some benefits from British, and so on and so on. Of course, I totally disbelieve, I totally support poor neighbors of Stewart in Florida. Thank you for your help. Thank you for your support. Stay safe and healthy. And sorry for my forced speech. I do not feel good, and I experienced um, this interference. Thank you. Bye.